welcome to the podcast, Jake Kucharski, goalie for AIC University or college, I guess, as well as the Carolina Hurricanes draft pick in 2018, I believe it was. Welcome to the Goalie Corner. I'm excited to hear about kind of your background, your history through your career, and how you ended up earning a draft selection.
Yeah, no, that's I would love to talk about that. Again, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be doing this.
Awesome. I think we'll start you off with some sandbag questions here. Who's your favorite goalie?
Fleury. I grew up a big Pittsburgh fan, so he was always up there for me.
For sure.
Yeah.
Now, interesting, just instant side topic here. What's your thoughts on the Matt Murray and Fleury situation a handful of years ago?
I mean, at the time, obviously, I think it was the right decision. I mean, Matt was younger. He just won 2 cups. I mean, obviously, Flower was the hometown, kind of favorite guy in Pittsburgh. But I think at the end of the day, the decision that was made was ultimately, I think anyone would have made that decision, or any GM in hockey would have made that. So
that's a good answer.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's obviously tough. It's easy to look back now and say, it was wrong or whatever.
Where people were.
I mean, yeah. And
yeah,
obviously, I think Murray's kind of rebounded nicely this year, I think. So he's been doing pretty good.
Yeah. Sounds like Fleury's on the move again, though.
I know. Yeah, I saw that too. I saw Vegas might want him back, and I just don't know.
Bit that in the
it's all rumors.
Quick.
Yeah.
They just said no, we're not taking it.
Yeah.
Why did you first become a goalie?
So when I was growing up, playing house league, like everyone would just rotate in goal. And then whenever I did it, I did that for a couple of years, and right when I was around 10, the team I was on, they're looking for a full-time goalie. So I kind of just stuck with it. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed playing it the previous times I did. So I felt like a right fit, and so I haven't really looked back since.
Okay, well, you kind of led into the next question here with why did you stick with being a goalie?
Yeah, no, just kind of that. Just really enjoyed it. I felt like I was better at that than I was skater, so it was kind of easy.
Nice. Now, just kind of putting it out there, I'm from Canada. The majority of the people I train with are Canadians, and I know you're from Pittsburgh, or not Pittsburgh, but from Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be a little bit different from your situation to like our situation up here with minor hockey.
Yeah.
So can you go kind of back in the archives and talk a little bit about how you were able to navigate through your minor hockey, or what it looked like for you as you were growing up?
Yeah. So for me, a majority of my early hockey was I just played a AA for a team called the Erie Lions. And, it's really not, it was just AA hockey, it wasn't super competitive, but I mean, it was still, it was all right. We played some decent teams and whatnot. Then my freshman year in high school, that's what I did up until that point. So my freshman year in high school, I played just for my high school team, and we ended up having a pretty good year that year. We won the state championship. So that was really cool. Then my sophomore year, I played AAA for a team in Pittsburgh called the Esmark Stars. And I also played high school. So I kind of switched back and forth, throughout the season for those 2 teams. And then that's really just, my minor hockey was pretty much just at the Erie Lions AA pretty much since I can remember, when I was like in 4th grade till 8th grade. And then the 1 year of high school, and then the 1 year of AAA before I was off to juniors. So it was pretty consistent with what I was doing. Nothing too drastic. I wasn't changing teams. Like, obviously, I know in Detroit and Michigan, there's a lot of areas that there are multiple teams, but in Western PA, there's not too many.
Ironically, I just talked to Xavier Medina, who's playing for Windsor Spitfires, but he's from kind of the Detroit area. And
Yeah.
he's like bouncing around from team to team a little bit, like
Yeah.
and he was saying he was more worried about the coaches he was playing for instead of like the team itself.
Yeah.
Right. And it was a different look for sure. Like up here in Canada, it's similar without high school hockey. Like we just don't have that. We have academies,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
our high schools, like we'd be lucky if they have soccer teams.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So no
Yeah.
way we're getting hockey. But when you were progressing, I'm assuming you were gaining some traction from junior teams, right?
Yeah.
How did because I'm also assuming this is kind of your first time going through it and your parents' first time going through it, right? So
Yeah.
how did they navigate who to listen to and how much weight they put in someone's words of trying to figure out like the right place to go?
Mm-hmm. Like I said, a lot of that was kind of the coaches helping me out too. But at the end of the day, we really just kind of listened to it or listened to everyone, and we were able to kind of weed out just based on what really felt right and what we heard from coaches and other parents that they might have talked to that had someone else or they knew someone else that went through the process. So it was really just kind of taking advice from a bunch of people that we were kind of close with through playing on the team and everything like that. And then eventually, towards the end of my U16 season, I think I signed a tender. I think it was towards the end, tender with the Austin Bruins in the NAHL. And then kind of from there, obviously got a lot more serious. And that's when, colleges might start talking to you and everything. But up until that point, it was kind of just, playing hockey, playing a lot of games, and then just, whatever I could take in or whatever we could take in from, people who we knew who, like I said, may have known someone that went through it or had older brothers that went through it or whatever. We kind of just listened to them and, made our judgments and decisions kind of based off that.
So feeding off that answer, the people that you kind of knew that had brothers or siblings that were going through the process a handful of years before, do you think they kind of set like a roadmap of how you wanted to progress and get to NCAA or NHL?
I don't really think, not really any of them specifically, just because I kind of like, I'm obviously aware that everyone's path is going to be different. There were like other goalies who were older than me who like, obviously like I knew just through like being aware of, who are the guys that are committing or who are the guys that are getting drafted and whatnot. So I kind of like would watch them and I guess their career paths and kind of see, how similar mine was or try to take a similar route. But, at the end of the day, I think it is obviously important to remember that everyone's path is going to be different. But obviously you can take, little tidbits from everyone and try and emulate it. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. It doesn't necessarily mean it's right or wrong. It just means that it's not, it just doesn't work for you and that's fine. But
absolutely.
Yeah, no, I just think honestly, just really watching and paying attention to the guys that were getting the commitments and were moving up and being successful. That's kind of who I was really watching and just seeing, where they were playing for, how they were doing and kind of where they were at and at different ages.
Okay. So I got one more question and I think we already kind of touched on it, so we can kind of brief over it rather quickly. And then we'll get into a little bit more of like the playing aspect of it, right? The fun stuff.
Right.
The hard decisions that you've had to make in your career, right? What university to go to. I can see in your elite prospects you went and changed universities, right? Like those are pretty big decisions to make, right? So can you kind of talk us through the process of like how you made those hard decisions, like who you brought into like your inner circle to listen to maybe, or just walk us through like that discussion or that process?
Yeah. So especially, like I said, having to leave Providence was definitely, one of the hardest decisions I've made. Obviously I have a lot of great friends. There's still a lot of great people there that I really care for and am close with. But the main thing was for me is that they kind of just had too many goalies coming back. And they're bringing in another grad transfer at the time. So it was really, I think we would have had like 4 recruited guys, 4 or 5 recruited guys, if I would have stayed. And that's
a lot.
obviously, yeah, that's a lot to have at one time. So I kind of, I put 2 and 2 together. I kind of understood that I was going to have to look elsewhere if I really wanted a chance to play. And until that point, at the time, I didn't play a game or anything yet. So, yeah, after talking with my parents and kind of, I talked to the Providence coaches too a bit, and I just knew it was the right decision to put my name in the portal and see what I could get. And AIC right from the start was the most interested school, and obviously when a school shows a lot of interest, especially for someone that hasn't played a college game yet, it's definitely something you remember when you're going through that process. So, but yeah, just really looking at the goalie situation, and obviously, in minor hockey too, it doesn't really matter what team you're on as long as you're playing and as long as you're getting minutes and consistent starts. And so that's really what I was looking for, and I was fortunate enough to have AIC kind of reach out, and the rest is history.
Yeah, no, for sure. It looks like you're having a pretty good year as like maybe a first year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I guess the first
year.
Yeah, really kind of my first, last year is the COVID year. We didn't really play. We only played 20 games the whole season. So it was definitely a good stepping stone to get into this year. But this is like obviously my first, full season of college hockey.
Right. So, how is it different than last year? Like, do you just have more games scheduled, and like is it still like kind of the weekends based games?
Yeah, so we just have more games scheduled, and obviously we played pretty much all of them, I think, except one. But just the amount of practices from this year to last year has gone down a lot. I mean, because obviously we weren't playing every weekend. We had to deal with a lot of cancellations and other types of delays, whether it be COVID or it was pretty much all COVID. But so that made way for a lot of practice, and we scrimmaged each other a lot. We kind of did basically everything that we could to kind of make it seem like a real season, but obviously at the same time, no fans. There's so many restrictions. There was so many restrictions last year of what you could and couldn't do. So last year was really just kind of hockey, 24/7. There wasn't really much else to do. And
how did you keep that? Yeah, how did you keep the practices like interesting, or like how did you stay engaged with all the practices? Because I know myself, like I went from being on the ice 4 days a week for like 5 to 6 hours, right, just normal practices and stuff like that, to on the ice 7 days a week, like sporadic times. Everything was going like just straight up practices, and then again this season back to 4 days a week.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think the number one thing is obviously as a goalie, you can only control so much in your practice. So our coaches did a really good job of making them, lively. We played a lot of like small area games, a lot of competitions, things like that, which made it fun. But I think the main thing was just really understanding kind of that it was, an opportunity to, really break down your game and spend a lot of time on like the technical aspect of your game, which you might not do normally in a season just because you're playing so much. And, there's obviously other things to work on. But just with the amount of ice that we had and the amount of practices we were getting in, it was really, you had
an absurd amount of time to really nitpick your game, eh?
Yeah, you could really dive into the details, and that was really good. I mean, obviously at the time it sucked, when we weren't playing, but this year I think it's definitely helped me just be more complete and more confident in my game.
Right on.
Just having that time.
All right, let's start putting you on the spot a little bit here.
All right.
When you were before juniors, maybe the first couple of years of juniors, how were you able to elevate your game above other goalies your age, or just while you're growing up, right? Like what was putting you ahead of everybody else?
A big thing that I did when I was, still playing U16 was I was going to have this workout program that was like kind of goalie specific, and I really, really followed that because I wanted to make sure I could, do everything off the ice to make sure I was, going to perform on the ice. And so I was really, really into kind of, the flexibility, mobility, power, strength, all that kind of stuff, specifically for goalies that would help me get to the next level. And, that in turn really helped with my skating. I think my skating's always been really good. So I've always been working on that. But I'd say really those two things, just spending a lot of time on skating, being able to move, and then taking the off ice aspect pretty seriously. I think for me, that was a big separating factor was, how well I was able to skate and just how comfortable I felt on the ice.
Great answer. I think it needs to be taken a lot more seriously up here in Canada. I've been
Yeah.
talking with a few other goalie coaches, and in Europe, apparently, I think it's Sweden, every Monday is National Goalie Day. And so like wherever you are, like you can go to a rink and there's goalies on the ice, and they're at the rink for like 3 to 4 hours. Like they get to the rink early, they're doing ball drills, hand-eye coordination stuff.
Yeah.
Jump on the ice for practice, and then after practice they're doing like conditioning. Right. And I'm like,
I think,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, to that point too. I think that's kind of one of the cool things about, especially with all this innovation and like hand-eye training and, it's eye training in general. Like there's so much more that's going to come of it. And it's, like I said, even just doing that for a couple summers, I've noticed a lot, more confidence in my, puck tracking and things like that. It's little things like that, but it really, really makes a big difference, I think.
Well, yeah, it's kind of, you go from like not training at all to even just start training it, right?
Yeah, literally just anything you do at the start is going to make, a big difference just by not having done it before. So it's really, really cool.
So next question here is talking about your strengths. So you mentioned your skating. What other aspects of your game would you kind of classify as like dominant like strengths in your style?
For me, naturally, it's athleticism is a big one. That one, I've always kind of just been that natural, like, I don't want to say like athlete, because like I'm not very good at like other sports, but just like in the crease, I don't know, I can just move, fairly naturally. Like I can make saves like creative ways. So that's obviously a big one. And recently, what I spent a lot of time working on while I was at Providence and last year at AIC was my positional, not getting out of position. So I think I'm a lot more controlled now than what I was. That's really become a big strength of mine. So I'd say those two, kind of being controlled but athletic. And then recently this year especially, I've kind of tried to hone in on my puck handling, which I think's improved. I mean, it's still not where I want it to be, but I'm a lot more confident getting out, stop rims, make passes, and even make my own decision if I have to rim it around the boards. I'm not, terrified to do that either. So I think
maybe a bad situation happened when you were younger.
No, actually nothing really happened. I always kind of had that fear. I just don't want to turn it over, but that obviously goes away with the more confident you are back there. But yeah, I think really just being positionally controlled and being able to make an athletic save is kind of two of my key points in my game.
I just double checked on your elite prospects here. 6'4".
Yeah.
With athletic capabilities, that's dangerous, man.
Yeah, no, it's obviously a really good trait to have. I've been kind of blessed with that. So
yeah. Speaking for the average to short people, I'm pretty jealous. All right, looking for a little bit of an outside of the box answer here. What does hard work look like to you?
Hard work looks like to me. Geez, I don't know, because there's obviously a lot of ways to look at it. Like a lot of guys say work smarter, not harder, which is true. I mean, there is a time and a place to do those things. But hard work for me is honestly, I'd say just simple things over and over again, just repetition. It doesn't have to be complicated. Goalie is always going to be a position where you try to get in front of pucks and just make a lot of saves. So I think just putting yourself going through a lot of the simple game situations and really focusing in on, your body detail and what you're doing, your tracking, getting your feet set and just constantly doing things like that. You know, at the time when you're doing it, it's not going to be the, you know, the most cool, I guess, drill. You know, you're not going to see it on Instagram and whatnot. But I mean, obviously, and there are times for, you know, those fancy drills too. But I think the nitty gritty of it is just getting down and working on those simple little details and habits and just really perfecting those.
Nice. Discipline with the simple. I like that.
Yeah. Just make sure you are consistent with the work. Consistency.
Absolutely. Consistency is huge. A little bit back onto you. We can either do this in a 2-parter or 1-parter. You can just nail the answer here. What separates you from the rest of the goalies in your league? And to build on that, what separates you going into like rookie camp, tryout camps? Right?
Yeah, I think a big thing for me is just being able to just have fun and be calm with things. You know, I don't really get too nervous about, I guess, big moments or anything. You know, obviously my junior career wasn't great. You know, I faced a lot of adversity there. So I kind of like, I've been through a lot of that. So I know how to handle that. And I know how to handle, you know, going into a big game or going into, you know, any game really. I mean, any game has got to be taken the same way with the same mentality. But yeah, I'm just really calm. You know, I'm really, you know, I kind of just like to be light on game days. I'm not really too serious. And because of that, I think my mind's able to stay clear and I'm able to have a consistent focus throughout, you know, a long period of time because I'm not really stressing my mind or being weighed down with, I guess, you know, superstitions I have to do or whatever. So, and obviously I do have a routine.
What is your game day routine like? You're kind of sounding like a little flurry here. Just want to have some fun.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, that's it. But I mean, I guess my routine is, you know, usually wake up, breakfast. Depending, like if we're on the road, maybe I'll go for a walk or something. If we're at home, you know, maybe just hang out, watch a little TV. Or if we have class, go to class. And then pregame meal comes around, usually eat that. And usually I probably take either an hour and a half to 2-hour nap, depending upon, you know, how much time we get. After that, wake up, get a shower, you know, put the suit or tracksuit on if we're away and get to the rink or the bus. And then just usually when I pull up to the rink, it's kind of different all the time, honestly, but I usually like to play a lot of sewer with the guys before. I probably play that's probably where most of my time spent is playing sewer. After that, we do our team stretch, and then I have a little ball routine I do. Just get my hands and my eyes going, and then after that, just get dressed and go on for warm-ups. So it's nothing crazy, you know. I'm not like too specific about any of the times or anything like that, but it's just something I like to follow, just to have kind of a set plan to be in place.
I'm assuming you leave sewer ball either when you win a game or whenever you just feel good.
Actually, no, I usually stand there. I mean, I think the only game I've won this year was like our first game of the year. So I thought I'd have a better year. But with that being said, though, I'm not like a big buddy ball guy. You know, I don't really do two touch. I do kind of go on for sewers. So I do misfire a lot though, which is probably why I get out most. But you know, it's all fun. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Exactly. Take some risks.
That's funny. Speaking to the young goaltenders here, what are 3 skills or abilities that you think every goalie should master?
I'd say one, most importantly for me, is your mental game. Just figuring out what works for you. Figuring out if you're a guy that needs to be serious and really dialed and really follow a strict routine, then do that. If you're not and you're looser, I'd say do that. Just really kind of figure out what works for you. And the only way I've really been able to do that is through trial and error. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. Just figuring out what works. Another skill I'd say, like we were talking about before, is skating. You know, being able to move well and efficient. You know, I really don't think that's ever going to be, I guess, like out of style or out of, you know, something that's not required to be at the next level. And
Right.
I'd say for a third skill, probably just be, really understanding the, I guess your box control, just being in front, being, not over committing, not over challenging plays, just basically being able to read the play and understand kind of what situation you're in, I think is a big key that not a lot of, and I shouldn't say not a lot of, but it's harder to kind of understand, because really the way that you learn that is just through playing the game. So
Yeah, it definitely
yeah,
takes a lot of time to, speaking from experience, it takes a lot of time to get like the points across and have the goalies start visualizing like what it is that you're giving up, right?
yeah, exactly.
Like cliche, like dog leashes out there, you can only do so much. You can't do it like in real time, right?
Yeah.
So it's definitely one of those things that is
No, for sure. And for me, once I really like started to understand that and really realize like what I was, I guess, giving up and how much I had to move or didn't have to move, that really kind of, put into perspective, just how much I really had to do, in the
right on.
crease or didn't have to do.
Right on. All right, I'll hit you with one final question and I'll let you get on.
It's my roommates there, sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all
Yeah.
good. College lifestyle.
Oh yeah.
All right, last question. What's been the best goalie lesnar tip that you've received?
This is honestly going to sound super cliche, but my very first practice, I remember at Providence, I just came in at semester after Christmas break, and like obviously like I was a little nervous, because I had never been on the ice with those guys and I'm still getting to know everyone. But my goalie partner at the time was Hayden Hockey, and like we were just about to go on for goalie skate, and he said, just just go have fun out there. It's not complicated, and it's kind of cool just to see, because obviously he had a lot of success there and was very I think he holds like pretty much every record there for wins or whatever, but he was really able to, I guess, take me under his wing and kind of get me, on that path and have that right mentality to kind of, go into work every day, but also enjoy it and not be too caught up in what we're doing.
Right on. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on. I really
thank you so much for having
this.
me. Yeah, I had a blast. It was great talking with you.
All right, you kick some have good luck in playoffs and championships and all that stuff. So when you win, I'll maybe slide into your DMs again.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to get that fourth trophy. But again, thank you. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All right, thank you for taking the time.
Absolutely.
Bye.